Welcome to the Boston's Big Four podcast. Cast. New news about music and sports every week, sometimes.
All right, episode 78, Boston's Big Podcast. We got JFliz with us. New album out now called Grown.
Yep.
Massachusetts artist, right?
Yep.
You've been, like you said, you dropped your first album back in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
You were dropping content pretty consistently. Then you had a son. You had to do the dad thing for a little bit.
Yep.
And, take some time off of music. And I guess since quarantine, you kind of just dove back into it, figured this was the time to dive back in, and you produced a whole album yourself.
For sure. Yeah. Like I said, it seemed like a good opportunity to, with a little bit of extra free time, which is hard to come by nowadays, especially being a dad. But, I said, this is the time to do it. You know, music's been a part of my life since I was a kid. So taking any time off for me is unusual. So taking 2+ years off was weird. So it was building up inside of me. I knew I had to get back into it. And back in March, I was like, this is it. So, I took a little spare room in my house and turned it into like a mini studio-y type of recording room,
Nice.
Whatever you want to call it. It's no studio, but I got enough to put together an album and put it out. Like I said, I did it all. I made the beats, obviously wrote the rhymes, did all the production. I had my man in Italy mix and master it, but other than that, it was 100% me, and I'm pretty pumped with how it came out.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that's sick. I mean, doing all that DIY is, it definitely gives you a lot more control over the project, and when you have someone else mix and master, that kind of like throw them the polish and you made the art the way you wanted it. So definitely that's kind of the control that I feel, the control and the luxury of not having to go through all the mastering yourself. So that definitely helps probably helped you speed things along too when you were moving. I did want to ask, so you said you were going through, or you had made music in 2012 and then took a break. And now that you've been back, I guess you came back at an interesting time, or maybe it was pre-COVID, but I'm curious, how have you seen the scene change even since just like within the past 10 years?
It's in 2012, I guess, when I came out with my first album. I'd say it's different, but it's the same. A lot of people in the Boston scene, we got a lot of talent here, a lot of dope artists, a lot of dope producers, but some back then, a lot of people, nobody was patting each other on the back or trying to support each other. And I feel like with everybody being so disconnected now, I feel like people are a lot more apt to try and connect with each other now and try to pump each other up and try to get down with each other and collaborate a little more, which has been pretty cool. So now that I got this kind of project done and it was like 100% me, I'm going to try to start to set up a couple other things. I've been talking with a bunch of other local cats that we're going to try and get down and start to put out some new stuff too. So I'd say that's, been the biggest, I guess, change. Like they say, as much as stuff changes, it stays the same type of deal. But I'm excited to get working on some new stuff for sure.
And how much of the album was made pre-COVID, I guess? Did you dive in like during COVID? Is that when things happened?
Yeah, it was pretty much like right when COVID hit.
Okay.
I was talking to my buddies who I used to have a band too. I've always been an MC and done like hip hop, but I had a band called North of Boston back in the day. It was like the Roots meets Beastie Boys type of thing. And we were talking about trying to make some music via, all online and record our own stuff together and send each other shit and get down like that. And that has not come to fruition yet, but I'm hoping it does. But in the midst of that, I was like, you know what? I was like, I got everything I can do right here. I got my MIDI, I got my computer, I bought a mic. Like I made my own little setup at home. And and just dove into it. And that's kind of how it all started. So it was literally March to maybe September, the 6-ish months, everything was recorded and done. And I sent it off to have it mixed and mastered. And November 6th, we dropped it, and the album it came out pretty dope. I'm pretty pumped about it.
Hell yeah. So prior to March, you had never produced a track.
Nope, never had
blowing
to.
up his spot.
So, well, that's impressive. So, like, how long did it take to really grasp the producing part? And like, when did you start just firing out these beats and you were like, all right, I got this down?
It was pretty much me just hanging out at night, just like this. Instead of talking to you guys, I'd be messing around on the keyboard, and I'd be up on the computer. And I've listened to obviously music my whole life, so I definitely have the ear for it.
Right.
And it was kind of just a matter of just finding some samples, finding some loops, finding some different things, hitting some stuff up on the MIDI, and playing some keys and doing some random stuff. And dude, just started slapping it together.
Wow.
I have no learning. I didn't go to school for it. I have no background in it besides listening to hip hop my whole life.
Yeah.
Seeing my buddy, my man Vinyl Villain, he was my boy from back in the day. He used to be like my sole producer, I would say. Like, he used to make all my stuff. We used to work together a lot. And so I saw him do a lot, but I never really like absorbed it. Like, I was just sitting there with my pen and my pad, and like, I'd look up and I'd see him like, fucking around with some shit.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what he was doing. I just knew he was making dope beats.
Right.
So it was really a trial and error. I was messing around. And fortunately, I came up with some good stuff. I think was good stuff. It's been well received so far. Yeah. So, it might have been luck. Hopefully I can do it again. But now that that's done, I'm going to start working with some other producers again and try to stick to the pen and pad. But I'll definitely be down to make my own beats some more for sure.
Dope. What's it been like seeing the reaction to the album? You said it's been a great reaction so far. What's that been like, having people embrace the music?
Yeah, it's been cool. I mean, like I said, as long as I've been making music, I'd say this has been the best response. I had a lot of blogs pick it up, like hiphopheads.com, Insomniac Magazine, Underground Hip Hop Blog,
Nice.
a handful of others. But like a lot of people, got behind it. People hit me up online, me seeing people in person, a couple like things that happened. Like one joint, the Depression song that I wrote about was super tough for me to do, but at the same time it was easy because it was super honest to write about. But it's obviously hard to put out something like that.
Yeah.
But
that's actually one of my favorite ones, definitely.
Thank you. Yeah. I've had people come up to me. It happened just last week. I was at work, and a kid came up to me and he was like, "Hey, I heard that Depression joint, and it literally spoke to me. And I've been going through some tough stuff, and you made me feel better about what I'm going through, and
That's
made
awesome.
me feel like I'm not alone in feeling how I feel."
Yeah.
So some stuff like that. So there's been stuff social media wise, but very like face to face. People in my direct life that deal with depression that have been affected by it in a positive way.
Right.
So it's been really cool to have so many people reach out and have a positive impact with an album like this. It's been really cool.
Yeah, and to connect with someone like on a personal level like that, I feel like is kind of the ultimate goal of an artist.
Agreed. And I talk about that even like on the interlude. I say, like plain and simple, like I make music at the end of the day for me.
Right.
I think most artists do. If you're writing music that you're not connected to, I don't really know how you're supposed to put any real emotion into it.
Yeah.
So when you can put out something that's very close to you and you can have other people just absorb that and feel the same way and then want to reach out to you and talk to you about it and open up to you, it's incredibly satisfying. It's very humbling. it's been a very, very positive couple weeks. And with all that's going on in the world right now, it's been twice as cool to see some positivity come out of what's going on right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I think everybody needs that. That's got to be some good validation on the work you've done. So that feels great.
Definitely.
So, in those 2 years that you took off, were you writing at all, or were you not picking up the pen at all, or were you still, jotting down?
It was pretty minimal,
Yeah.
which again for me is not my nature. I mean, since 3rd grade, I've been writing.
Yeah.
So to take off, a day, let alone a couple of years, was very strange. I always had a pen and pad with me. I'd maybe jot down a couple of things here and there. But I really didn't have anything I really wanted to write about.
Mm-hmm.
As an artist, it's cool to just keep putting out music and just keep going and going and going. And I always want to do that. But sometimes artists and writers and musicians, whatever, you hit a little bit of a point where it's like, I don't really have anything to say.
Right.
And I'm almost glad I took the time off because I went through a lot. I became a dad. We're living through COVID. The Black Lives Matter things going on. I came to terms with my personal issues with the whole depression aspect. I put out stuff about family stuff on this album. And so I didn't write basically for 2-ish years. But when I picked up the pen back in March, it was just like full-fledged. Like I had so much to get out.
Yeah.
It was,
I can imagine,
I think I benefited from that. And as dope as it is to just keep rolling out and putting out project of a project, sometimes it's quality over quantity. And
absolutely.
I think taking the time off, the quality of this album, it shows through, I think.
Yeah, I think that's important especially nowadays. Like you said, people are putting stuff out constantly, and there's kind of a pressure on artists to do that with, the age of social media and everything. But I do think stepping away and kind of like taking time to collect your thoughts and just that'll make the music better in the long run rather than just forcing things out.
I agree. Like I said, I'd love to be able to put out another album next week and just to keep people engaged with me, because you don't want to lose people's interest as an artist. But again, if I don't really have good content that I want people to, bite into, and, I like to put out music that, people can digest the lines and enjoy the beat, which for the first time I made my own beats. But regardless, I want them to be able to like eat it all up. I want them to sit down. I want them to be able to listen, and there to be more to it than just a dope beat and just me spattering out a bunch of stuff. I want there to be meat to it and people to be able to dig into it and really digest it. So like I said, I'm glad I kind of took the time off because I feel like it made that album this much better.
Yeah. Are you planning on doing any videos?
So I did the one video for that Joint Everything, which is the last track on the album. I don't know if you guys saw that or not.
I didn't actually.
You can pop that up on YouTube. So that's the last joint on the album, which is kind of almost like a culmination-ish of the whole joint. And that features, my wife and my son in it. And that's basically just my joint talking about they're my everything. At the end of the day, I love music. I've loved it my whole life. But family is always going to come first, no matter what. But it was cool to have them be an inspiration towards a big part of the album, but particularly that song. So that is the one video I put out actually off the album. I might have a little something else coming later this week. I'm waiting on some stuff to come through.
Yeah.
But I might have another little type of video coming out later this week, hopefully.
Teaser for the folks listening.
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed. I that all lines up and that's coming out this week. But if you didn't peep the everything video,
yeah, I gotta check that out. My bad, I'm late.
Oh no, it's all good. I mean, and then again, dude, I did that all myself.
Yeah.
I recorded it on my phone that I'm talking to you on right now with a selfie stick for fucking $8.
There you go.
Man, I'm not trying to be a famous rapper. I'm not trying to make music my career at this point. I'm 35. I'm super appreciative and happy with the life I have outside of music. Yeah. Music for me now is a hobby, and I'm not dumping on anybody who's wants to make music their career. Yeah. If I could be doing this full time for a living, I would do it in a heartbeat. Right. But that's, it's hard to make that happen. A lot of things got to link up and click and just all go the right way. Yeah. But again, it's the album I did all in-house. I did myself. I shot that video myself. So this whole album is just very much, if you want to know me, you listen to that album, you watch that video like that, you see me inside and out.
Awesome.
So I did another question. Speaking of equipment, so you shot the video with using your phone and a selfie stick. Mm-hmm. And did you? Yeah. What did you use for like your recording software? Were you using anything like higher end, or because personally, I'm a Reaper guy. I'm big on Reaper. They got the cheap license, so I was curious, like, how did you work with that, and what type of plugins were you using in those? Was everything stock or?
It was literally, what is that app, iMovie?
Oh, really?
Is that what it is that comes on an iPhone? That's how basic it was.
Oh, okay. And is that for audio as well? Is that what you did for the?
Oh, for audio and recording, I actually use this online-based recording program. I actually have it pulled up because I'm messing with a beat right now. BandLab. You ever heard of that?
No.
Yeah, it's literally like a web-based program where they have like samples and drum kits and loops and all different types of stuff like that. And that's primarily where I pulled most of the stuff together for the album.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Dude, so there's no...
All the sounds are already up on there, and it like saves your work as your work like on the web. So it's kind of that's.
Yes.
I'm surprised that's not more popular. I'd never heard of that before, but that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of stumbled across it. It's almost like having a Chromebook where like everything's kind of like just right there. This is basically just like a web-based type of thing where it pulls everything up and you can save, you can save files right underneath your, your login or whatever. You got like a profile.
You could go anywhere. Like you could log into that from any computer and work.
It's exactly.
Wow. Okay. This is, that's really interesting. Cause I want to say Reaper is a program that I was using, and its biggest thing is it touts that you can put all of the software files, like the whole directory, on a USB and just take that USB somewhere, and your whole registration, like you can just use the same software on a different computer.
Okay.
And I thought that was like, oh, this is cool. You can do that. And I think you can do that with like Pro Tools, but you have to have the lock key or whatever. And like,
yeah.
But I'm like, okay, so this is like a thing. But the web-based, like almost cloud DAW. I mean,
that's pretty much
subscription based, or is it more of a free thing? I'm not familiar.
No, it's free, 100%. Okay. And it's cool. Once you make a beat or you do whatever you do and you put it out, you have 100% royalties on it. Like it's yours. So like this album, putting it out, like there was no messy stuff where like I couldn't claim this is mine because somebody else used this sample or these drums. Dude, it worked out good.
I'm gonna try that, just to see what it's all about.
It's fun to mess around with. Like I said, for me, this album started as an experiment. Really, it was my way to kind of get back, start making music, not spend any money on it. Frankly, very little at least.
It can be wildly expensive to do anything sometimes. Like,
bro, I don't want to tell you how much. I don't want to tell you how much my first album cost me. between features in studio time, in DJs doing cuts, and it was,
which is why I appreciate you did the video on your phone, because like when it comes down to it, the viewer probably never even thought twice that you were recording it on your phone, or
Nope.
like they might have even assumed like that was for artistic reasoning. And then you could sit there in a store and spend like, whoa, do I get the $1,000 microphone or the $2,000 microphone? And not even have made a song yet, and you've spent $2,000, and then the like all the equipment that can go into it, and you're just kind of like, what? You still have to make the music and make it good. So it's like it is a rabbit hole, because people make things on $20 microphones and get rich and famous, and it's just like it's weird how that happens, and you definitely got to separate yourself from that. So I appreciate that your thoughts were like, this is more because you mentioned you're doing this more as at this point for passion and not for riches. So it's more of like I want this to be good, and there's really no reason for me to be spending the money on it. So you put the quality into the content versus all the equipment, which you see a lot of people doing. They're like showing the eyeball, whatever filter they got on their microphone and everything. And but that's huge. That's definitely big, because when you have those the core values, it makes the product way better. So when or if you end up in a big studio, that's like, it's just going to click right away, you know?
For sure. Yeah. And like I said, I mean, I did the album, and not to cheapen people who to dive in and spend the money and go all out, because I did it with my first album. You know, I had a lot of good features. You know, I said I had DJ Slipwax on there. Nice. You know, the dopest DJ around. I mean, I was recording up in the Bridge in Cambridge. I had Archetype on a couple beats.
Shout out the Bridge. Shout out
Archetype.
Shout out the Bridge. They keep coming up.
I think I think our last like 5 episodes in a row, someone has mentioned the Bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was up in there, I would say kind of when the Bridge was like really kind of kicking off. I think I was like one of the, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I was probably one of the first like full blown, like big, I shouldn't say big. That's me talking big.
No,
hip hop records that came out of there.
Yeah,
I shouldn't say that, but like, it was like, there was, as I said, it was us. There was, you know, bigger hip hop artists. We had Esoteric on that album. We had Planetary.
I was looking at the feature.
Alias, XL. Yeah, like that was like a pretty, good record. Like I said, Slipwax on that. Like I said, Archetype did some of the beats, and so that was like a kind of a big deal. And like I said, that album cost me a shit ton of money, and I've gotten 20 times, 30, 40, 50 times the response off of this album than I did off of that. And whatever the reasons may be, it does go to show, if you put out the right content and you market it the right way. I did a lot of like the, publicity, I guess, myself. And I reached out to blogs, and I did this and I did that, and a lot of behind the scenes stuff. But I definitely think this album's had the biggest impact by far, and it has cost me next to nothing dollars. And again,
it says a lot right there.
I'm not ever going to shit on people who are spending money in the studio or on beats or whatever the case may be, because I've done it. That's super dope. That's just me personally. I'm at the point where music for me is truly a hobby. I love to make it for myself. Anybody else I can affect and help and give them some positivity in the process, that's a bonus. So I said, that's me personally. I'm not putting anybody else down. But so this album, to me personally, was just like a crazy accomplishment and an unexpected experience the past couple of weeks since this came out, for sure.
Yeah, that's got to feel good to get. I mean, like when you show, just for example, you have the perfect anecdote of look how much effort and money I put into one album versus like the effort and money I put into this album and the balance and what comes out.
Right. A lot of young artists could probably learn from that experience.
Yeah. And again, not putting people down. But as somebody who's done it for a long time, the perfect example, and I said this, I had an interview last week where we talked about this. If you guys know Schizophrenics, Checkmark.
Sounds familiar, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, old school but new school at the same time. But you should check out Schizophrenics Enter the Realm, one of the best albums, especially to come out of Boston. But Checkmark on the joint Job Hunting.
Okay, so I do know Checkmark. I've heard of Checkmark.
Yeah, okay, so you know Checkmark. So that's Schizophrenics. It was him and Eddie Bones. Eddie passed away, unfortunately, like it is 5+ years ago. Yeah. But on their album, this joint Job Hunting, he straight up just says, he's like, you got to have a backup plan. You do not want to be 35 years old and look back and have nothing to show for it. Mm-hmm. It's for all the, younger cats that are making music now and doing their thing. Keep doing it. I'm not telling you don't spend money. Do whatever you want to do, but always be smart about it. Life is crazy. Nobody expected COVID to come through, in March.
But that 1,200 was nice, right? I'm just kidding. I mean, it definitely wasn't worth it.
And that's the thing. It's like, you don't know what life's going to throw you. So, do what you can. Be smart. Take care of yourself. If you have a family, take care of them first and foremost. Do your thing. Make music. I say that all over the album. Like, if that's your passion, keep doing it. Don't stop. Be creative. Find ways to do it. But be smart. Don't piss all your money away in the studio or whatever, making hats if nobody's gonna buy them, and they're sitting in the closet or making shirts, whatever the case may be. I'm just saying, do your thing, but for the younger guys making music, just be smart about it, handle your business, and have a backup plan, because music is dope. It's been part of my life since I was a kid. But I fortunately always had the hindsight to make sure I kind of had a way to make a legitimate living in the event this rap shit didn't work out, because for most people it doesn't, frankly. Right. And that's not being negative. That's just being
that's just the reality. Yeah. That's just the reality. Not everybody can be a rapper.
Can be Drake, yeah.
And that's the thing. There's a lot of dope ass cats out there from Boston and New York to LA to whatever, France, I don't know, all over the place, that are super dope and probably deserve to be famous. And it's just, unfortunately, it's not going to happen.
Right. No, there's so many unbelievable artists who work other jobs, and that's just the reality of it. It's
for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not to me being negative. It's just,
it's
just
realistic.
Being honest and realistic.
Yeah, just being realistic and smart.
Sure.
I think a lot of artists like to pretend that they don't work, but they for sure do. And
that's
funny.
Yeah.
That does happen.
It definitely does happen. I always get a kick out of it. Like, I'll hit up somebody and be like, yo, you want to jump on a joint together or whatever? And they'll be like, oh, yeah, but, it's like $200 for a verse. And I'm like, well, don't you work at the car wash, bro? Like, you're charging me for a verse for? Like, you're not famous.
Right.
Man, yeah. You're like, you got to have commanding, like, you're going to have, like, proven commanding numbers if your name is on something to really be charging for verses.
To be asking people for money for, a 16-bar verses.
Which you already probably have written on your phone. Money. I mean, in that case, they're probably just going to give you something that's pre-written.
On top of it, yeah. So, but that's a whole nother discussion. But
yeah.
So a big feature you did recently, or I don't know if you did it recently, but you released it in October, was with Rex.
Oh yeah, that's kind of a funny-ish story. So, pardon me while I drink my bourbon.
It's all good.
So that was a joint we actually did years ago.
Oh, okay.
So my man Vinyl Villain, who I've referenced, we had a falling out a while back. We were in the midst of putting together a new album, and Rex, that joint was going to be on that album. We ended up having a falling out, and it basically got squashed. And I thought all that content was gone. I didn't realize I still had it, actually.
Yeah.
So when I went back into the Bridge in Cambridge back in 2017, end of 2017, I put out my first mixtape. So that was like the last solo project I put out before this album came out.
Yeah.
And as I was digging through and putting stuff together, I actually came across the beat. I actually found his verse. So it actually came back to life, and I actually ended up putting that on the album.
Yeah.
So originally that was actually an older song, but I came across everything and kind of brought it back to life and actually put it back out. Which was pretty cool because that's a dope joint.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love Rex's verse on that song.
How'd you link up with Rex?
Again, Rex, I see here and there. I wouldn't even say we're friends, or we're barely acquaintances, but like we would see each other at the Bridge. Again, he used to record there a lot. He probably still does.
Yeah.
So we would bump into each other here and there, enough to say, what up, good to see you. And I kind of just hit him up at one point. I sent him the beat. I sent him my verses I had planned, and said, if you want to jump on this, let's do it. So he ended up getting on it. And like I said, at the time, a couple of years ago, it was supposed to happen. That fell through, but I luckily saved that actual content that I thought I had lost, and revitalized it. And when I was at the Bridge, we pieced it all back together and put it out on that mixtape.
Yeah.
So that's one of the 3 joints on the mixtape that are actually my songs, as far as beat wise.
Okay.
Those are original joints. Like there's 2 beats by Level 13, who's out of Philly.
Yeah.
He's done a bunch of shit. He's done stuff like Method Man and a bunch of bigger cats. So he does 2 of the beats on that, and then that joint with Rex is actually by my man Vinyl Villain.
Okay.
Who again, we had a falling out back in the day. We're talking again a little bit, which is cool. It's been a minute since I talked to him, but yeah, that was a long ass story for a short ass answer.
No, it's all good. Nothing wrong with that. We like the details. But that joint that's a dope joint. And Rex kills that. Yeah, no, I saw you had a song with Rex, when it came out in October. I was like, well, I think I threw that one on the playlist.
Yes. Yep.
That's always cool to get a song in with Rex. Rex is a legend around Boston.
Crazy. I've been listening to him since, I was a kid.
Yeah.
Really. So to work with somebody like him, Esoteric, guy XL, like guys I listened to as a kid. I've had Fax One do some cuts on a joint for me before. Just dudes I was a kid. I was at, the Paradise, as a kid, or the Middle East, and watching them. And then years later, I'm actually working with them. Like I did a show with Fax One and Alias, and we opened for Acrobatic one night, like out in Beverly. Again, it's like probably 4 or 5 years ago. But like stuff like that, it's like, it's crazy to think dudes I used to listen to as a kid that I end up working with is wild.
Yeah, that's got to be awesome.
That is surreal.
It is.
People that come up in playlists and all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay. Like you appear almost. Like that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Do you think, what will the next Middle East be? RIP Middle East, most likely.
Oh, man. I don't know.
What's the next best club? Is there even one?
Is the Middle East done for sure?
I don't know. I'm assuming, right? Because if it gets sold, who's going to buy it and keep a venue going? Unless they bought
Hopefully
it as a
somebody.
venue.
I don't know.
What I want. I don't mean to get sad, but you mentioned the Middle East, and I was like, what's the next Middle East?
No. Dude, if that happens, that is some sad shit. One of my best shows of all time was probably the Middle East. Yeah. We sold that shit out. This was when I was with my band North of Boston, actually, back in the day.
Okay.
And we sold it out, and it was nuts.
Yeah.
But I've seen so many shows there.
It's a great venue.
Perceptionist, Jedi Mind Tricks.
Yeah.
So many dope shows there. I mean, that's I don't know. That's I don't know.
It's
That's
magic.
sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, that is the spot when you think about Boston and you think about the hip hop scene. That and like Harper's Ferry, which is not even Harper's Ferry anymore. It's Brighton Music Hall, I think it's called.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But
yeah, no, that's the spot.
I don't know what will be the next spot. I mean, with the way of the world right now, I don't see live shows coming back anytime soon. I really don't.
That sucks. I agree though, but it sucks.
Yeah, I think that's just the reality of it. Even when they say we got this vaccine coming,
people start turning into zombies. It'll be a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, I see masks happening for another couple of years, maybe. To be on the cautious side.
Yeah,
it's speculated that masks are here to stay. That's what we said on a podcast recently.
I don't see it ending anytime soon.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, there's always going to be that fearful old woman who's just like going to always have a mask on now. Like, I mean, not to make it sound like ageist or sexist, but it's going to be old ladies.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
they're vulnerable. They got to be careful.
Yeah, that's true. They're fragile, and we care about them. We want our nanas and our
grandpas. Right. Shout out nanas. Shout out all the nanas out there.
Yeah, shout out nanas. We do have to be careful. Yeah, but I do. I mean, it is funny though, looking back when you just think about like how hyper aware everyone is of all the droplets and whatever. And now it used to be all like, oh, what are you drinking? Like you just like take a sip of someone else's drink. Everyone was just crazy. Like, let's spit in each other's mouths. Let's just do it. Like people that, I mean, like all jokes aside, that basically did happen. Like at concerts, people are so close to each other, like all the air mixing.
Oh, absolutely.
You would get in crowds of people, rub shoulders with strangers and not even think twice about it. And now it's like, everyone stay away from me.
Oh yeah, nobody wants to get close to each other. I was just talking about it today. I was at work and we were talking about the whole thing and I was like, I just saw something popped up on my Facebook or whatever. I was like, my son's birthday is March 1st. So February 22nd, I think it was, of this past year, we took him to Disney on Ice at the Garden. Thousands of people there.
Yeah.
All over each other, cheering and whatever else.
Right.
And a couple weeks later, the world shut down. And to think to go to a venue like that, I was at a Bruins game, I think, a week before this whole thing went down. And now
that's amazing that even in 2020 we were allowed to go to events. It seems like it was so long ago. You know what I mean?
Wild. Yeah, it's the same year.
It's crazy. This is still the same year this shit went down.
Yeah. I do have a question though. Is Disney on Ice still Little Mermaid themed, or is it like all Disney?
Owen with the hard-hitting question.
I know, right? That's mad. Very
this is the clip that's going viral.
That's very hip hop.
Yeah, right.
Dude, I don't remember if Little Mermaid was on that. I think it might have been.
There was one. So I went to Disney on Ice when I was a young lad, and we got the slushies. The slushies that were in the flounder from the Little Mermaid. So I'm like, maybe that was the theme of my show, but I think I don't know. I have a feeling there's so much Disney content. They can't be sticking with Little Mermaid. That you say it, I don't think there was Little Mermaid. There was definitely The Lion King was still hanging. We had Moana up in there. We had Aladdin. I remember that. I don't think The Little Mermaid made the cut. I'm so old. I haven't even seen Moana. I'm not even on the new stuff. I need to figure it out.
I haven't either.
I'll tell you, Moana's not a bad joint. I've watched it multiple times. Some of the new school stuff's not bad. I was hating on it. My wife was like, "Oh, we should watch this. We should watch that. Friday night movie night with the little man." I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm good." And we ended up watching. I was like, "Oh shit, that movie was fucking good."
Dude. I'll watch little kid stuff like once in a while. Like if you ever catch like what's on cartoons these days, like they slide stuff in there. You're just like, okay, this is still funny. It's not just like little kid humor. So they do catch you.
Yeah, no, they do. I just watched over the weekend Wreck-It Ralph. Dude, John C. Reilly. doing that.
I haven't
doing
seen
that
it,
big
but
boy.
I hear it's good. Yeah.
I've heard good things.
It was like another one I would never think to watch it, but I got a 2.5-year-old, so I was like, all right, we're gonna watch this. I was laughing. I like literally was like, and my kid was like copying me. I was like, that shit was legitimately funny. Like, how aren't you laughing right now?
Yeah.
So,
It's like
no
context, bro.
Disney, Pixar, dude, the shit's funny. They're still doing their thing.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. I'm still quoting Monsters Inc. I'm always just like, so help me, so help me. That's just like what I do. So
Another good one. It is.
yeah. I mean, you know, once you get to the age, I feel like what is it? Like middle school, high school, you're like, oh, that stuff's dumb. I'll never watch that again. And then here we are, loving it.
Yeah.
Dude, there's nothing wrong with nostalgia. My still favorite stuff, whether it be music or movies or TV, 80s and 90s for me personally, you're not gonna beat it. 80s martial arts movies, 90s cartoons and hip hop. Like I'll listen to new stuff all day, but nothing's gonna top that.
Right. I did hear someone say recently that like the music you listen to, I guess like junior high to high school, basically like teens to early 20s is the music you'll listen to the rest of your life, pretty much.
Interesting.
And I was like, that's true to an extent. Like I still listen to new music all the time. Like I'm always checking what's coming out. But I do find myself like if I want to get nostalgic, I go back to what I was listening to in high school or like, it's just
Agreed.
that always kind of sticks with you.
I think that age is very impactful. Like whatever happens to you around that time, like 13 plus or minus 13, is usually where like if you have significant events happen, like that will be a part of somehow your personality for the rest of your life, from what I've heard. Because the way you said that with music, I've heard that. I know this is gonna sound strange, but like I've heard that with like sexual desires usually will develop like things happen to you around those ages, and then that's something like that you're into for the rest of your life. That's why some people have like weird feet things and stuff,
Anyways,
it's not weird.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I
know what you're saying. I mean, regardless of it being whether it be feet or otherwise.
Yeah.
I know.
Whatever
weird.
floats your boat.
I know what you're
can
saying.
like anything.
Yeah, no,
when you're
those high school years do, that 13 to whatever 16, 17, that stuff. Whatever happens to you, good or bad, that sticks in your brain. That will mold you as a person.
Absolutely, yeah.
And resonate the rest of your life. It will.
Yeah,
I wanted to talk about your track "Panic." You released that as a single, right, before the album?
Yeah, that was the first single off the album. Yep.
That was obviously a powerful song, talking about everything going on, police brutality, Black Lives Matter. What was it that pushed you to write about that and get that message out?
That was a very I made the beat first, for starters. And when you hear that beat, it is so intense.
Yeah.
So I made the beat. And I was just listening to my car one day and I was driving, and then the George Floyd thing happened. And I just sat there and I was like, that just happened. We got COVID. I was like, the world right now is just effed in every way, shape,
it's in
and
a
form.
panic. You chose the perfect title.
I mean, truly, it's in a panic. People are panicking, whether it be politics or whatever, COVID, the race issues, everything. It was just the perfect storm of stuff that just was all happening at once. And I just was writing, driving around, going to work, going stop to stop, doing my thing. And that's just kind of how it came together. And for me, having a song that's actually 3 verses is a little rare. That for me, that's a long song. I always feel like 2 verses and the hook is good. People kind of get bored after 2,
especially nowadays.
Minutes. People got short attention spans, but it was just, there was a lot of content to try to cram into that song without diving too deep into anything too particular. Yeah. So I try to make it a little broad but very concentrated at the same time. And that's kind of just what happened. I was like, what happened with George is ridiculous. But again, a lot of people don't realize what's been going on for way too long at this point.
We're just getting it on video now. That's the only difference.
And that's the thing. The whole tie-in with social media is just like everybody knows everything the second it happens. And but meanwhile, this isn't new. This has been going on.
Yeah, it is really eye-opening for society because you hear songs like "Everyone Always" goes right to like "Fuck the Police" by NWA.
Right.
You're just thinking like growing up, I was like, man, how disrespectful of them to say that about the police. Like, and now I'm like, they were speaking from true, real experiences. It wasn't like just out of pure disrespect. There's like there's actual things going on that I, as a child and growing up, you don't realize, and the media hadn't known or maybe didn't touch upon because they didn't have the evidence they have now, which is like, I mean, it's really all about clicks, not really about whether it's good or bad. So, I mean, and back then it was all about views, like who was watching your show. So I don't know if they really cared to show. I mean, Rodney King was a huge thing, but that was revolutionary at the time because someone had a camcorder.
Right.
Like,
That was
by chance, which is crazy. So I mean, it's weird. I mean, we can rule out Bigfoot, but we can say police brutality is real because of cameras being everywhere these days. It's pretty crazy.
100%. I mean, it is. And I know people personally who are police officers and are awesome people and would never, ever, ever, ever do some shit like that. But again, there's people that are. There's bad people you walk by every day. You know, you could get on the bus and you could be sitting next to a saint, and the person next to you on the other side could be a serial killer. Like that's the world we live in. And unfortunately, bad shit is happening all around us all the time. And again, it has people in a panic. COVID has people in a panic. That stuff, the race stuff has people in a panic.
Where I think a lot of people had been blind before, like kind of blissfully ignorant or just everything was pretty good, you know, like everything day to day. I mean, people have been coming up with plenty of issues in the past however many years, but just like things until COVID, I honestly think people have a lot less reason to complain about a lot of things after this. We're going to be like, once things kind of loosen up and become regular again, like people are probably just going to suck it up for a lot of little things. Like, oh man, I haven't been anywhere in a while, like just for entertainment. It's all just been for food and whatever. There's really nothing else you can do. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, for sure. I forget exactly how I say it in the song, but I basically say that people are fed up at this point because of COVID and shit's about to blow. It's like on top of George Floyd's situation, you already had people in a panic and in a frenzy, and everybody was on edge, and like just everything was building up. And when that happened, that was what popped the cork.
Yeah.
And that was the end of it. And you know, it hasn't.
To clarify,
it really
those
hasn't
are
stopped.
things you can complain about. I don't know. My statement made it sound like that was justifiable for some reason, but absolutely not.
No. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's been a weird time, and that definitely was. The George Floyd thing happened like at a time when everyone was really starting to get fed up with just being inside, and we're like, how long are we going to be doing this? And then that happened, and it was like, I mean, obviously the police brutality thing, the last few years, I think I'd say the last like 6 years, it seems like every year something comes up on video and there's a new march. This year it seemed bigger than before. The reaction was bigger, which is a good thing, I think.
But I mean, I don't know that there's any situation like there's been plenty of evidence on video in the past like 10 or so years, but that was like egregious. The video, 10 minutes long, people screaming at the guy.
I mean,
like,
there's been video. There's a video
and
of
then, like, he's dead.
What about the Tamir Rice kid, the 12-year-old who got shot because he had a fake gun or whatever?
Was that on video?
There was a bad video of it, but you could see it. And then there was someone else getting shot in the back as they were running away. Like, so this stuff's been
many bad ones.
This stuff's been like bubbling and building up for a while, and now it's just like it's so plain to see now that people are they're fed up, like they're sick of it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And as you just said, bubbling. And that's now that I think of the line, society's been bubbling, about to blow the ceiling, revealing frustrations. Now their patience is lost, racial injustice, prejudice, and dirty cops. That's exactly what it is. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
2020 has been brutal in every sense of the way.
Yep. I always find it interesting that, like, NWA, Fuck the Police, like Owen mentioned before, like that song, I think is more appreciated now than it was when it came out, at least by the masses. You know, people who understood police brutality and what they were speaking about obviously appreciated it back then. But I would think the majority of people who heard that song back then were probably like, these guys are just crazy. You know?
People
and now
didn't get it.
they didn't get it. And now that we see the things happening, it's like, oh, I know what NWA was talking about 25 years ago. It's like, now I understand. And now it's normal to make a song, you know, criticizing the police, and it's almost praised. And it's like, it's funny how it took people that long to kind of understand what was going on.
I mean, and that's what's so good about, again, good and bad about social media, because again, it can ruin people, social media, because somebody might do something to be the right thing and somebody say, oh, that's the wrong thing to do. And it just it goes off, and then you're shunned and you're a horrible person. Not talking about this situation in particular, and then the good thing about social media is you can make a song like Panic, or, you know, you can talk about things and express things, and you can actually reach people from here to, again, New York to LA to all over the world. I mean, the cool thing about social media is you can reach people, and if you're doing it creatively and positively, it can be a really good thing. Yeah.
And you can reach the people that you want to reach, the people who your music is directed towards. Not the people who are going to hear it and say, oh, this guy's anti-police or whatever. People who understand the message and like really understand what's going on. You can reach those people and like make sure it's directed towards them.
Yep.
You know, social media makes that easier.
It does. It does. Like I said, social media can be a very good thing, you know, if you use it in the right way. You know, that's a joint on the album too, called The Antisocial, which was actually kind of born out of a little blurb that Slane posted 3+ years ago. He wrote this little thing about social media and, you know, how it's a tool, and, you know, you should stick with your friends and your family, and, you know.
You know what? I think I remember this post. It was like a Facebook status, right?
Yes.
I think I remember this post. I think I shared it. I was like, this is on point.
Bro, so if you remember that post.
Yeah.
Antisocial is built around that post.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
So
that's funny because I don't see like everything he posts, but I know that one stuck out to me. I remember that.
So that's super cool because I literally snapshotted that on my phone. I think it was literally January of like 2017 because I could like see it in my brain.
Yeah.
And when I started writing this album, you know, as you guys probably know, it's about a lot of positivity and growth and, you know, a mature stuff. Yeah. And so that always stuck with me. So the whole antisocial thing was like very cool to write about with like, again, social media can be super, super, super negative when people use it in the wrong way. But if you're creative about it and use it in the right way, it can be positive. So I definitely recommend checking out that joint, especially if you remember that quote. Yeah. Definitely listen to it. That actually got a couple spins in New York the past couple weekends.
Oh, nice.
Shout out to DJ NUT, No Ideas Original Radio. He spun it the past, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. So that's been super cool. But that joint's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, absolutely. What else we got?
I did want to ask, did you find, because you worked with bands, or I guess you said you were in a band prior to getting like deeper into hip hop. Was your background more like a like a punk or a rock and roll? Like, what came first? Was hip hop always a part of your life, or were you moving into like the band space first?
So I definitely grew up on like rock, like classic rock, blues. Like my dad listened to like, you know, Clapton, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix, like all the
Shout
old
out all
school
those
stuff.
guys. Those are classics.
Yeah, I mean, like that's what I grew up on as like a young kid. And then, you know, much to his displeasure, when I hit like 9, 10 years old,
Just like, move, bitch, get out the way.
Oh man, I'm talking like, you know, Nas, Wu-Tang, Mobb Deep.
Yeah.
Like I was like at Caldor with my mom back in the day, like stealing tapes, and she was like, you know, shopping for I don't know, linens and shit. I don't know. And I was stealing, you know, stealing tapes. Yeah. So I got very deep into like hip hop at a young age, just nobody presented it to me. I just kind of just like, I don't know. I was like, oh, all right, I'm going to do this. And like, I started listening, like I said, Nas, 36 Chambers, Illmatic, all that stuff was just like, I loved it and just like started absorbing it. So at an early age, I got into hip hop. And that was kind of like my thing. Like I didn't start really recording stuff, like a little bit in high school, but like just like dumb little things, but like writing rhymes and like making raps and like doing that thing was like my thing, like middle school, high school. And then 2012, like I said, I dropped my first like legit album. I put out a couple little things before then, but like nothing serious. But definitely like well-rounded when it comes to music. Like I said, I listen to classic rock and blues and all types of stuff. And even now, I love that. I listen to jazz. I listen to doo-wop. I listen to just about everything. But hip-hop is kind of just where I fell. In the aspect of being able to write and kind of express myself and get my thoughts out and do it creatively on a pen and piece of paper like that is what I think kept me there. I tried playing instruments over the years. You know, I can finagle on a guitar. I can goof around on drums or, you know, piano a little bit. But like nothing major, but like writing rhymes and doing that was like where I found my niche kind of. But definitely I'm very well-rounded when it comes to music. So even like on this album, you'll hear piano. I got some harp on there. Like I'm all over the place with where sonically my head is at with what I like. So you can hear a little bit of everything. You can hear the influence. But yeah, and being in the band was super dope. That helped me elevate as an MC, I think, because it's one thing to be in the studio and just like, you know, rapping over a beat. When you're on stage with drums and guitar and bass and shit like pumping in your ears and, you know, you're trying to control the crowd plus listen to what's going on and do all that. That helped me elevate as an MC for sure. So again, super well-rounded. And you said you can hear that on the album. I do a little bit of everything. Again, I give very long answers. I apologize.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
That's what we want, though. That's good.
Yeah, we're trying to get this time in. We want to hit every episode at 4 hours each. But
right.
So
Nice.
You mentioned doo-wop as like part of like type of music you like. What was so there's a song, and I hate to like make this comparison right off the bat, but I immediately had to look up the artist because I thought the artist is Barry Mann, and I thought that you were sampling Barry Mann at the end of Grown because it sounded like the song Who put the bump and the bump who put the ram in the ram.
That's funny.
But it was more like the part where it's like actually singing. So I was like wondering where where did you get that sample from at the end of Grown?
I'm going to tell you right now, I forget who the group is who I sampled. If I can find it, I'll pull it up. I'm on my computer right now. If I can find it, I'll pull it up. But I was working on the album and I was literally listening to old school music. Just like I was on streams and on YouTube and just screwing around, whatever. And I was just listening to stuff and that came up and it's from like 1960 something, and it's an old doo-wop group. And I happened to hear it, and I assume it was shortly after I finished writing the song Grown. And I assume obviously you've heard the song, so you know like the concept behind it. And I was listening to the song, just chilling. It was like 3 a.m. I was sipping on bourbon, just by my lonesome.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yep. I was like, there it is. There's the one. And that was it. So I yanked it out and I threw it on the end of the track. And I wish I could find exactly what it was, but it's an old 60s doo-wop joint.
Yeah, I was so curious. It sounds like so much like his voice, but a lot of those guys had such a similar sound back then. So I'm like, it could be anybody probably, but I was like, I wanted to ask that because I'm like, that would be crazy if it was him. Just by the way the band sounded, everything in the background, because there's all those guys harmonizing like the ooh, ah, like it just sounded right.
I love that stuff. Like I listen to like golden oldies, like 50s, 40s. Like I'm super down with like almost everything. I'm not a huge fan of country music. I'm not gonna lie, but
we're on the same page for sure. Country.
Other than that,
go take a ride.
Yeah. Other than that, I can pretty much
truck.
get down with just about everything.
How do you feel about the meme where it's Paul Anka, put your head on my shoulders, and it's like bitches will hear this song one time and say I was born in the wrong generation?
I have not seen that.
I have not seen that either.
It makes me laugh because I've shouted out that song before on this podcast. I was like, oh, listen to like put your head on my shoulders. It's so good.
Yeah, I remember that. I haven't listened to that song.
It's a great song.
I have not. That's awesome.
Who are some local artists that you like right now? Like who are some of your favorite local cats right now?
Who do you hate? I'm just kidding. Don't worry.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah, that's where to start trouble.
Yeah.
I don't hate anybody. I'm super down. Anybody that has the balls to get on a mic and put their shit out and put out music, I'm cool with you.
I agree with that. I don't hate a single artist.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
I don't. I mean, unless somebody comes at me personally and starts talking shit about my wife or my kid or whatever, then that's a different story. But no, I'm no issue.
If you're making music and you're happy with it and it makes you happy, then
Yes, that music is an art form. It's like painting on a piece of paper. Who's to say that shit sucks?
Right.
Somebody might think it's worth $5,000. Somebody might think it should go in the trash. I mean, art is art. Music is music. So you put it out. I'm never going to tell anybody anything negative about it. As far as artists that I like for local, I'd still say the same cats I've listened to since I was a kid.
Yep.
Mr. Lift just put out a new album with Stu Bangers.
Yes, he did. Yep.
Which is super dope. Mr. Lift, if it wasn't for him, I might not be where I'm at.
Okay.
Enters the Colossus is one of my favorite albums of all time.
Yeah.
It made me realize there was a sick ass Boston scene, like legit artists, like, and then as soon as that happened, I was like, oh shit, Acro. And then I was like, oh, 7L and ES. Oh, Virtuoso. And then I was like, oh, Army of the Pharaohs, Jedi Mind Tricks. And like, dude, it just boom, like it blew up. My whole underground hip hop scene started from Mr. Lift.
Okay.
I'll tell you that right then and there.
That's dope.
Enters the Colossus is what lit me up.
That's dope. Shout out Mr. Lift.
So shout out to Mr. Lift.
You've seen you said you've seen the Perceptionist live too, right? Yes.
Multiple times. I've opened for Acrobatic. Fax One has done a couple cuts for me on some joints.
Okay.
I talk to him relatively often. So that's what's up. For new cats, there's a lot of talent in Boston. Magno Garcia out of Chelsea is super dope.
He's dope.
I've known Magno for a while. He's really dope. I'm trying to think who else I really listen to that's local. Oak Lone Tree, another one, really dope. He's had a couple sick albums. Like Holy Ghost Rider was really fun.
Yeah, he's been putting out a lot of stuff lately.
Yeah, he put out like 4 projects in the past couple months. Like I'm trying to keep up with him.
Seriously.
But I like him a lot. Him, Magno. Trying to think who else. I mean, I always love Tragic Allies. They haven't done I think a lot lately.
Not as a collective.
Been putting out some solo shit.
Yeah, not as a collective, but ST Nack's been on fire the last couple of years. Like he's got the song with West Side Gun.
Yeah.
His album. Al Divino's doing his thing too. Tragic
Allies. Yeah, so
dope.
He's dope, and I know my man Bono Villain I think works with them quite a bit now, which is cool. I'm super happy for him. He was always super dope, even when we were kids. I was I know he always made some of the sickest beats I ever heard, and it wasn't just me pumping his ego.
Right.
And he's only gotten better, which is super dope.
Vinyl Villain is a great name too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
It
is. But yeah, I don't know, I'm trying to think who else. I'm sure there's plenty of people I'm forgetting, but Magno and Oak are 2 that come to mind right off the bat.
Word. Yeah, there's a lot of talent out here. It's tough to remember all the names. Like if someone asked me, I would be like, I'm gonna forget somebody. So
yeah, and I know I already am. Without a doubt. So, but there's a lot of good cats. Boston's got a lot of talent. Like I said, and some people might blow up and be the next who knows what.
Right.
A lot of people might end up being like me and just working 9 to 5 and make music on the side type of deal. But it's
have
all
a backup plan.
Exactly. Have a backup plan, and if you're making music and putting it out, if you can affect people positively too, that's a huge plus.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, it's all good. If you're putting out art and you're making music and you're doing your thing, it's all good.
Hell yeah. All right, we'll let you go. But it's been real.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's get plugs and everything.
Oh yeah, plugs. Social
Sometimes
media.
we forget plugs, but we're not forgetting plugs today. And is there anything else you wanted to hit on? I guess we don't have to shut it off if you had anything you wanted to talk about.
No. I mean, we covered a lot. I talked to you guys a lot longer than I expected. Which
That's
is cool. You guys were just fun to talk to, just to talk to.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
I don't get to do this a lot. So no, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
No, I mean, overall, the album's, very special to me personally. It was a lot of fun to make. It's been a crazy couple weeks. A lot of good feedback, a lot of positivity. So I'm super happy with it. So anybody who hasn't listened to it, just take the time. It's a half an hour. It's totally worth checking out. But yeah, like I said, I appreciate you guys for the support. It's been awesome. You guys have done a lot for me personally. So you guys are awesome.
Hey, we appreciate you coming on, man. The album's great. Everyone check it out. Grown, JFliz.
JFliz, all platforms.
All platforms. Like I said, you can hit it directly on Bandcamp if you want, but it's on Spotify, it's on Pandora, it's on Apple Music, it's on YouTube, anywhere and everywhere you want to listen to it. Just Google my ass, you'll find me.
You'll find it.
Yeah.
The only JFliz out there.
Yeah,
there ain't many JFlizzes out there. Exactly.
You passed the Google test.
There we go.
Right.
Thank you for coming on, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, no, thank you both. Anytime you want to get up, I'm down.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Anytime. Cool. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, boys.